Good morning, everyone. We're going to get ready. We're ready to start. Sorry for the delay, but we wanted to give plenty of time for those stuck on whatever, 540, 40, whatever, wherever the accident was to get here. So thanks for filling the room. A third pot of coffee is on its way, so no despair, right? Thank God, Michelle, you'll get it. Look at that cup. This morning, we're happy to welcome Ryan Faircloth of Rover Pay. When I first contacted Ryan, he was like, how did you find me? I stalk startups. That's what I do. So we're really happy to have him to tell his story and to see what we can do as a community to help get him launched. And so with Ryan, I will let you give your background story and take from here.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Like you said, my name is Ryan Faircloth. My company is called Rover Pay. We use our community mobile payments apps for retention marketing for restaurants, and we save consumers time and money. It's big enough. And so the problems we're trying to solve, I was in the restaurant industry for about 15 years, and a couple of things that frustrated me were, number one, this is a stat I found out later, 72% of restaurant guests never return. And one way to think about that is how many times have you driven down the road and seen a restaurant and thought, oh, forget about that place, I should go there again. You know, it's not necessarily because you had a bad experience that you don't go back, it's just they're not top of mind. And so that's what we want to change. And the other problem I had as a restaurant owner was signing up customers for contact lists, you know, call them loyalty programs, reward programs, you know, whatever you want to call them. They're contact lists, and it's like pulling teeth. You can't get your servers to do it. Customers don't want to give out their email addresses. You know, do you guys give your email addresses out when you go to restaurants? No, probably not. Neither do I. And so I wanted to create something that could combat that. In trying to solve those two problems for my restaurants. Can you open that door?
Maybe it's like the keys where you touch your chin.
Yeah.
And it works. Any luck?
Oh, this thing's off.
I'll just flip it for you.
Somebody click the button for me? Yeah. All right, there we go. So in trying to solve this problem for restaurants, I want to create a loyalty program, a rewards program. So I found these two statistics that kind of turned me onto the payment side. One was that loyalty sign-up rates increased by 1,000% when they're combined with the credit card payment experience. And the other is that 94% of customers indicate that they'd use a mobile wallet more if loyalty points were automatically awarded. Next slide, please. All right, and so that's when I wanted to solve these other two consumer problems. Number one is that paying at a restaurant takes too long. And this is a paragraph I found in an article from Newsweek in 2013, and I'll just read it real quick. Happened again not long ago. We went out to dinner and had a perfectly pleasant meal. We were seated, ready to go, then we sat. And I wondered what I always wonder, who among my fellow Americans enjoys this ritual? You ask for the check, the waiter walks away. He brings it, he walks away again. You put your card in the little sleeve, you wait, the waiter picks it up, he walks away again. Eventually, after reciting the specials at one table and opening a bottle of wine at another, he returns. And finally, 20 minutes after you're ready to leave, the restaurant is ready for you to leave. So everybody's experienced that at one point in time or another. I actually did a little personal experiment, and when I go to restaurants, actually time from the time that I'm ready to leave to the time I'm actually able to leave, the average is about 12 minutes. 20 minutes, I haven't had 20 minutes yet, but it's happened before in my life. The other problem is that 46% of Americans have been victims of credit card fraud at some point in the last 5 years. The number one source of credit card fraud is skimmers, like the one you see in the picture, which is actually this one right here. These are found on gas station pumps, and servers carry them at restaurants. The ones that servers carry at restaurants, you know, they're this small. They can keep them in their pockets, and they can actually get the CVV number off the back when they do them in restaurants. So those are the things we're trying to solve. Here we go. So our solution is Rover Pay. We're able to double restaurant retention and increase table turns. We can increase revenue by 5 to 10% and profit by 2 to 4%. 2 to 4% doesn't sound like much, but even these little mom and pop restaurants, they're doing $500,000 to $1 million in revenue a year. It's big money for them, can make the difference between failing and succeeding. Users save an average of 12 minutes and $2.50. Points are automatically earned and easily redeemed. These are the reasons that people would rather use us than download a different app for each restaurant they go to or sign up for a different loyalty program for each restaurant they go to. Our app combines the rewards, the convenience of payment, and the security benefits. And we also have, you sign up for one program and you have access to multiple restaurants. All right. So basically how it works, when we sign up for a restaurant, we go in, this is an example of the different campaigns that they can offer. They can offer any or all of them, and they can customize how much they give back. This is the one we suggest for a minimum purchase of $25. They can also do smaller cashback rewards for $10 minimum purchases or larger for $50 minimum purchases. But so we have a thank you is just kind of anytime they come in. New contact is to entice somebody to come in for the first time. Also customer that haven't been in 60 days. Quick return is you want to get them back in within 72 hours. And then slow days an hour for things like Monday through Wednesdays and happy hours. So the way it works is a user can actually, on the app, they can look and see what restaurants are offering what offers during the time that they're ready to go eat. They can look at the actual menu and make their decision on where they're going to go eat. Then once they walk in, Beacon Technology alerts them that they've opened a tab, and they just let their server know the name. Once they're done leaving, they can either ask for their check so that they have a copy and manually close the check in the app, or they can just get up and leave, and the server closes the check automatically for them. They have a pre-programmed tip that's automatically the default if they should choose to do that. All the transactions are encrypted and tokenized to make it all PCI compliant and secure. And then once the transaction is completed, they're on their list. They'll get an email and a push notification once a week, but they can opt out of both those at any time. All right. And then the cost to restaurants, you can hit it again. Go ahead and bring it up. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, there's supposed to be some words right here. Okay, I'll just tell you. So the cost to restaurants, we actually reduced their merchant processing rate. Their credit cards, they normally pay between 2.5% to 3.5% when they swipe a credit card. We reduced it to 1.99%. Some of those we're actually taking a hit, but some of those we actually have the ability to link up your checking account through ACH, so we don't necessarily pay the credit card rates. So we allow restaurants to essentially process ACH transactions, but we don't necessarily market that way. Anyways, we reduced their processing costs, and then we charge $29 a month. We charge 20% of whatever they give out as rewards. So, for example, if somebody offers a $2 cashback reward for a $10 purchase, we'll take $2 to give to the consumer, and then we'll take 40 cents as our profit. And then so the way we market to users through mostly table tents and signage at restaurants, along with word of mouth and servers. We tried some online marketing, digital marketing, things like that, and it was just completely ineffective from all the process that has to take to download the app, put your payment info, then go to one of our restaurants. It was just too costly. But we found that we get between 5 to 10 new users per week per restaurant. Just by putting in table tents. The cheesy guy on the right is how we market to restaurants. We just do direct sales. Right now, I've only signed up 6 restaurants. Started in either April or May. I have to look it up, but signed up 6 restaurants of just places that I went and I've talked to owners to do kind of just a trial to see what kind of results we get. So. With the direct sales, all of our projections are based on the ability to pay up to $100,000 a year to a salesperson to sign up at least 1 restaurant per week. And so then we get into the revenue model. So everybody knows that projections are another word for made up. I'm no different. I don't have any way of telling you where I'm going to be in 3 years, 5 years. I do know some of the numbers I put in the spreadsheet start to get a little too wild, so I try to pull back my expectations a little bit. But these first two key metrics are true. This is what we pulled from our results. Our average ticket is $40, and we're building to 20 transactions per day. I max it out at 20 transactions per day because I feel like at some point everybody who's going to sign up has signed up. That's per restaurant. We earn about a 0.34% processing on the margin, and we earn about 50 cents per transaction in the marketing fees. Now these bottom parts, I guess the restaurant will be with us around 2 years. I guess their lifetime value will be about $10,000 based on what I know so far. And customer acquisition cost is based on those numbers I just said, about $100,000 a year for a sales employee and then one restaurant per week. And this is where things get a little crazy. Some of these projections, gross merchant volume is not revenue, it is what we're processing. So then we get into weekly transactions, number of restaurants. Now, I'm very aware that when I get in after 1 or 2 years and have 2,000 restaurants, that there are going to be issues of scalability. And so I don't think that we're going to grow that fast. So I want to be very clear on these. These are Excel-based projections, not necessarily where I think we're actually going to be in 3 or 4 years. But based on just the math of what we're doing now and those assumptions that I just said, this is where we could be headed. Run rate profit this also depends on taking all our profit and reinvesting it in the company to hire new salespeople and build the brand. All right. As far as competition, we have 3 really different types of competition. One is competition for the marketing dollar. Restaurants have razor thin profit margins, and so they don't want to spend anything they don't have to. So as far as that's concerned, we're competing with Facebook and print ads and coupons and all that stuff like that. But on the level of actual restaurant technology, these are our main competition at the top here. Our 2 most direct competitors of these are Tabbed Out and Level Up, which actually offer a payment, the ability to make a payment through the app. But I think the key problems with those is that they don't create a seamless transaction and a frictionless transaction, and that's what we do. Our biggest competition, though, I'm going to say, was the status quo. Restaurant owners are very resistant to change. In addition to being hard to get a hold of, they're resistant to change. However, I have beaten that competition before. My first company here in Raleigh was called Raleigh Takeout. You can switch to the next slide. Okay. Okay. So I started a company called Raleigh Takeout, which was a food delivery company. It's now moved on to 6 different markets and rebranded Takeout Central. Sold that back in 2007, 2008, and have since owned 3 different restaurants. And that's where I came up with this idea. But all of my, past 17 years, before that I was a server in restaurants. So it's past 17 years of my career have been restaurant focused. David Baxter is my CTO and developer. Some of you guys may know him through HQ or has worked with the Big Idea Project. He's been in software development for, I think it's actually 17 years now. That was a while back I wrote this slide. And then, so what I'm looking for, all these projections that I posted on here were based on just self-funding. So there's no outside capital coming in. What I'm really looking for is a co-founder. I've been doing this by myself. We released the latest product back in March or April, but I've been through ideas and development and trying things out. I've been doing this for about 2 years, and I'm looking for, I guess, a breath of fresh air, somebody with a different perspective. Either somebody who's a developer or a sales rep with restaurant selling experience who wants to be a co-founder. The other option is, at some point, my exit strategy is to be acquired. and it would help to have an investor on board that has experience with acquisitions. I have a connection with Open Table, but if they don't want to buy me, that's kind of where it stops. So I'm looking for, I guess, an investor with that kind of experience. Willing to exchange, a decent amount of equity at this stage in the project. That's about it.
Keep that on. Gonna open it up.
We're not going to open it up to questions. Michelle has the first one.
All right.
Thank you. I think, as everyone knows, I'm using my wonderful talents currently in the restaurant business. And so in Raleigh, there are several restaurant groups, and I currently work for one, Echelon, which is G. Patel's group. And we see in the development of the current model of our restaurants to cater to those individuals that are most open market, which is the people that are about my age, mid-30s, that are moving in and out of Raleigh for jobs, etc. This would be really fantastic idea to pitch to some of those restaurant groups, Echelon, JMR, etc. As the focus of technology changes. My only two concerns are this, is currently as our restaurant changes, we have a demographic that's on the dark side of 70. And those people really want to pay with cash. Those people do not want to use any type of technology. They still have a flip phone. No offense. And those people are very reluctant and think that once you swipe a credit card, that big government's going to come down and know all of the information about you. So that's the other thing, that the biggest issue that I see with this, which I think is a really great idea. But the other issue I have as well is, as you know, as a server, as I'm racking up $2.13 an hour, is the majority of the rest of my hourly pay has to be on service. So it's all about the show. And when I'm providing service to someone and I'm putting on a show, I want those people to come back. I want those people to come back, walk in the door and say, we had a fabulous experience here the other night with Michelle. We'd like to have her wait on me. So I'm not so sure if you're eliminating some kind the 20-minute wait at the end of the meal, if that experience is going to happen. So I guess my question is twofold. First off, how do you pitch this type of product to restaurant groups that are changing when they currently have some portion of the demographic that is quite older? And second, how do you make up for the server where service and entertaining is part of your tip, but also too in a geographical region where some people are not like Raleigh, where Raleigh's going to tip between 15 and 20%, whereas other portions of North Carolina will tip 3 cents on the dollar. I said it.
Okay, to answer, it seems like a couple parts to that question. The first thing you address is the older crowd and all stuff like that. Two things about that. Number one, I learned a long time ago in business that you can't please everybody. You've got to pick your focus and go for that. And our focus is, I'd say our focus is going to be the younger demographic, but a lot of the folks using this app are in their 40s and 50s. I don't know about 60s and 70s, but it's getting to a point with technology where middle-aged folks are very comfortable using the technology. Also, those folks that are afraid to swipe their credit card aren't going to be giving you their email address either. So, it's one of those things where the current solution isn't any better than this solution would be anyways. So some of those customers you're just going to lose. It's just kind of the way it is. In the way of the servers and the experience, I would like to think that if you can cut 12 minutes off the back end of a experience, that they're going to come back. and it's going to benefit the server in the long run. Whether it's the same, the table asking for the same server over and over again. I've been in the industry for a long time. Very rarely does that happen. Everybody likes to think that everybody requests them, but they don't. So it's just one of those things where we kind of have our niche, we have our focus, and we just drive at that.
Are reviews built into your app as well?
Not yet, and that's one of the things, when I talk about bringing an investor on or bringing somebody on, a developer, there are a lot of features I'd like to add. One is I actually want to stay away from reviews. I think that, I don't want to say they're useless, but you can see those anywhere. I can just put a link to Yelp on the app or something like that. But what I do want is customer feedback. That's a feature I want to add that I think would be very valuable to customers, not only for just the value of the feedback itself, but also reputation management. That's something that if somebody has an outlet to vent that they had a bad experience through the app directly to a manager, they're going to be less likely to go post a bad experience on Yelp. Or if it's a good experience, you can just add a link to Yelp to let them go straight to Yelp and post a review on it. But no, currently it doesn't have restaurant reviews or anything like that.
I have a question. Take for instance, you've heard about fuse, the cut called fuse.
I'm sorry, I can still barely hear you with the mic.
It's called fuse, F-U-Z-E.
Okay.
I have all my cards, and if a company is signed up, they don't have to pay that fee. It's peer-to-peer, like a blockchain. We've heard about blockchain. They don't have to pay that percentage-wise. What makes you compete? Because most of people right now these days, most of companies are trying to save money, not to pay for the fee. And with the blockchain, it goes to peer-to-peer and all that stuff. And I'll suggest on yours, you might need to add that and check fuse. When I use my fuse card, it's right away when I make a payment, it comes, send me a text, and I can click on the processing and tells me, hey, it's fine, you can go ahead. And I'll have all my credit cards on one, and I look up for my credit card, and I tell them this is one I'm going to pay with, and I hand it to you, and I pay for it. And as soon as the process and all that stuff comes back to my email, and it's peer-to-peer, and they don't have to pay, wherever the restaurant is signed up, they don't have to pay for those fees, it's just peer-to-peer. And you might want to add that for your services. That would be very helpful, because most of restaurants are trying to save money for paying those fees. I think I'll suggest for you to add some of those things in there.
Yeah, thank you. The processing fee has always been a big pain point, not only in restaurants, but retail and, across the board in all business. It seems crazy that you have to pay 3% of your revenue to this company who did nothing. However, it is there. It is an expense right now. We are adding the ability to sync up, to link up to like Samsung Pay, Apple Pay, things like that. So it wouldn't be a big stretch to add in something like Fuse. I'd have to see their API and how that integrates. So I can't make any guarantees by any means, but I would love to be able to integrate with every form of payment in the world, and I'd love to be able to offer, not even charging 1.99% for customers that do pay via that method. Right now it's just not the standard, and so it's I'm a startup, so I can't spend all this money and resources developing these features that are going to be used by just a couple of people. So, but yeah, that's a great suggestion. I appreciate it.
Okay, I have probably a two-part question. The first is my own observation that I really have come to like Uber quite a lot, and the reason I like Uber is I never have to think about how to pay. It's all handled for me. So am I understanding correctly that your app works that way?
It does. Yep. You just walk in, you have your default payment set. You can change the card if you want, but it's just automatic.
That's excellent. My second question, my wife owns a small business, and she has transitioned all of her merchant services over to Square, because Square has a built-in loyalty program. And that's actually why she did it. She had a separate loyalty program, and it went by the wayside and she was looking for another loyalty program and Square is integrated. I don't know why Square doesn't go after this market, but how, have you looked at that and how does your program compare to Square?
I have looked at it. I'm very familiar with Square and how they work, and honestly, I don't know why they haven't tried to attack this market either. It's one of those things. I heard Justin Miller at WebPix talking about competing with these larger corporations, that they're so big that they can't be nimble and experiment with these types of things. They'd rather wait for somebody like me to build it and then just buy it from me, which I'm totally comfortable with. And so, and that's so that's one of my acquisition prospects, I guess you would say. They don't know about me, but I know about them. I think that feature is great with Square. With email only marketing, though, you still limit yourself. I'd be interested to see her results in particular with percentage of opens, percentage of redeems, and all that stuff like that. But it's email only, and so you don't have an app on their phone. You can't send them weekly push notifications.
They get like points when they buy things.
Yeah, they
I don't
get.
even know about email.
Yeah. So I'm not going through that pretty quickly, but they get a weekly email and a weekly push notification, which again they can opt out of at any time, which I imagine a lot of the Square folks do, and a lot of our folks do too. It's just a part of business. But we also have the app that they earn that cash back. Say they earn $2 back, and they've got $2 burned a hole in their pocket every time they open up the app. They see all these other new restaurants that are on there and what's around them that uses Rover Pay. So yeah, I think Square is great, and I don't,
The first question, I can't remember her name, but I was asking about resistance from different demographics. Some people want to use cash. Did I understand that there's something about this that's mutually exclusive? I mean, if I was a restaurant owner and I loved what you just said, and I said, I want to put it into my restaurant, does that mean that, this is just one method of paying? You could still pay with cash. You're going to have your 12 minutes extra wait, but it's not mutually exclusive, is it?
You're correct. It's not good. They can still use credit cards the traditional way. They can still use cash. They can still use, or they can use ours.
So then my second question or suggestion is just that from a channels perspective, I would think that you could go to somebody like Blooming Brands, which is the parent company owning Outback, what's the Bonefish and the Italian one. Carrabba's, thank you. So if you went to a big entity like that and promoted it to them, then you're gonna, I would think, be able to get to channel much quicker with a whole host of people, and some of the benefits on your earlier charts would accrue right directly back to the enterprise Blooming Brands or the individual restaurants. And then the final piece is, as you said, different channel would be, why not just go directly to Square and incorporate it into the application, and you get all the benefits right then and there.
Those are definitely two great suggestions. I haven't approached anybody like Square or anything like that. I think I'm just too small to even think about it. I have tried to approach larger restaurant groups like that, and the issue is, getting in front of somebody who makes a decision there. These so Steele's is a local rewards company. They do social media promotions for restaurants. I talk with those guys right out of HQ also. I talk with those guys all the time. They do a lot of corporate sales, and the sales process, the sales cycle is so long with that. You've got to have funding to be able to pay a salesperson, or either have a partner who can go that long without a paycheck to be able to get there. And I would love to get there at some point in time. I don't know anybody with Outback or any of these large restaurant groups. They've also got investors with some of those groups, and so that helps out a lot. If you guys know anybody, let me know.
That might be it. Talk to me.
Okay. Then as far as the approaching Square, I just too small to do much good for them.
All right, I have a quick question, then we'll go here, and back here. So with one of the restaurants that's doing this already, kind of rolled it out completely, was Chili's. Actually has their payment system that's on the table. So you can pay at any time and you can go through that. What it did is in Red Robin. So what it did is it reduced the number of waiters and waitresses needed because they were no longer needed to go back to tables, so they had less, which in some cases made the service worse. In some cases, it could have made it better. I don't know, but I've only seen it make it worse within that not having that touchback.
Right.
Have you done any research with the companies that have done the integrated technology like those companies that to see if the value add is enough for someone to want to go this route without having that last touch, like was said by the servers that have gone through in the room?
Okay, so you're saying, do I think that it could reduce the level of service enough to be not worth the extra profit?
Is that a byproduct of it? Yeah.
Okay. It could be. I think a lot of it has to do with the way, Chili's and these big corporate companies just look directly at the bottom line. I think if you are doing your consumer surveys and you're seeing that your service is going downhill and people are upset with it, that you've got to make the judgment call to add in some servers or make adjustments that way. I would like to think that if I'm causing that much of a disruption in the company, that I'm doing my job, and that's a problem that they just can figure out on their own.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello.
Oh.
I wasn't quite following your business model. If you said that you get a third of the margin on a average $40 tab, what does that calculate out to be?
Are you getting that a third from where I put 0.34%?
Exactly.
Okay, so that is the processing fee. It's not 1/3. It's 0.34%, not 34%.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's much smaller than you would think. We're going for a very, very small profit on a very large number of transactions.
Well, but so how much is that? If it's a $40 check, what does that?
What's a $40 check about?
$1.10, 20.
That would be 3.4%.
But if it's a third of a percent of the total check or of the margin?
Of the total check.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that makes more sense.
So that's just through the processing, because we charge 1.99%, but then I think I'm hitting this thing by accident. We charge 1.99%, but our cost is actually around 1.64%.
So you spoke earlier about the difficulty in getting the attention of a restaurant owner, particularly an independent, who you're going to be going after, which is still a lion's share of the market collectively.
Right.
Selling to change is difficult, as you indicated. Have you considered joint venturing with bolt-on partners that, one, may already have sales staff, and go to them with a complete solution of 3 tangent things that can work together right now, and said, look, if you get one of us, you get all 3 of us. And here's what it's going to cost you, and here's how it works, and here's how it changes your business. Because, I'm invested actually in a company called Trading Table. You should be on the phone with Andreas Katsudakis in about 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're focused on the supply chain and how to save time on ordering. Because an independent restaurant owner spends 4 hours a day ordering. So if they're spending 4 hours a day ordering, how could they have the time to meet with a guy like you? So, you know what I'm saying? There's ways, I think, to, and then there's another group out of New York called Kettle Space that approaches the same exact target and turns those restaurants that are dinner only into daytime co-working centers. So, now all of a sudden it creates new happy hour clientele for them at times that otherwise they'd be paying rent on and overhead with no revenue against it. So it creates a very interesting, so now all of a sudden, if those 2 people are working together, and I introduced them, so they are, now you come in with a whole streamlined payment system, and you can penetrate all these places probably much faster as a trio than as an independent. So I'd be happy to make that intro for you, or those 2 intros for you.
Well, thank you. As wasn't really worded as a question, but I guess your question was, have I thought about it? And yes, I've thought about it, but I've not gotten very far. I've talked to 3 different companies, smaller companies about doing something like that, but we could never really work out the logistics, and actually have recently started talking to Pepsi about if we can get somebody to switch from Coke to Pepsi, that they'll pay the 1.99% for a year and things like that. Which there's definitely opportunity in that. So I'll get in touch with you in a few minutes.
We have time, Holly, for one more question.
Okay. So one recommendation and then one question. The recommendation, when you show your competitive landscape, show it in tabular format so that, especially if you have a lot of check marks more than the others, because that has impacts when you're pitching, right? The second question is a sales question. With regards to the customers that you already have, what is the one thing that caused them to buy from you?
I think the main detail when I close the sale is that they're not risking anything. They say, all right, well, we put up some table tents and we offer this product. Either it does well and we make a bunch of money, or it doesn't and nothing changed. And that's how I wanted to be. I worked with this company called a project called the Rubicon Project. What he really loved about my product is that it's completely seamless and frictionless. And that's how I try to be with restaurants. I go in there, I'm not asking for a bunch of money up front and a bunch of monthly fees and all that kind of stuff like that. I don't want to make money unless I'm making you money. And I think that's what is the big sales pitch.
But you don't want customers to go, wow, this is really good to have. I mean, when somebody talks about frictionless and seamless and conceptual and stuff like that, the sale is fundamentally an emotional thing, right? I mean, it's not just an Excel-based decision tree. It's, I really gotta have this, right? So if you have any customers that haven't said that to you so far, you should probe them and find out why they're taking this on.
Yeah, Clouds is our biggest client right now. They do a lot of transactions per week, and we're bringing them an extra $2,000 or $3,000 a week. So I would like to get some kind of testimonial from them or something like that. I think would really help.
That should be part of your sales pitch.
Yeah, that should be a little mini documentary video on that.
$3,000 extra a week.
I appreciate it.
All right, perfect. All right, let's thank Ryan and Rover Pay.
Thank you very much.